I went to a tackle shop that's actually not too far from this spot here at Sam Rayburn, and I picked up a swim bait that we're going to use today, and take a look at it, guys. It is the Jackall Donkey in the 7-inch version, and I haven't tested out the action on these. I've never used this lure before, so we're going to see if this thing works or if I'm going to fail again and end up not catching any swim bait fish. So I picked up 2 different colors of this thing. This is the one that I've opened and I'm going to start off with today. It's in like a blue and green iridescent color. One thing to note about the swim bait that's a little different is the hook is actually not a treble hook. It's like a little double frog hook, and it's attached by a clip on the belly of it. Okay, so now that we've kind of taken a look at the bait, we're going to film our first impressions once we get the GoPro on and we start fishing. But what's good about the conditions right now are that it's raining, big wind for big fish, and then also it's overcast. So those fish should be active and willing to bite a big swim bait. All right, one last thing before we get started fishing, guys. Make sure you guys like this video if you like the video, and subscribe. There is one goal for the year. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I think we can blow it out of the water. But anyways, guys, let's cut to the action and let's hopefully catch a giant fish today. All right, guys, already down at the spot. Let's get this thing unhooked off the rod, and we'll take a short cast to see how the action on this thing is. So for the most part with these swim baits, I've noticed that the action is very, very inconsistent, right? Some swim baits you buy and they're, you know, really, really good, and others you buy, they're just like impossible to fish. So we're gonna test out this thing, and I'll know on the first cast whether or not we have odds to catch a fish. So there it is. Okay, it looks like it sinks head down, and oh yeah, guys. The action on this thing is absolutely perfect. Okay, initial impressions are fantastic with this bait, guys. I mean, it sinks pretty fast, but as soon as you start reeling, and it doesn't matter the speed that you reel, that tail wobbles, and actually it has an interesting like body wobble too. It's not like the hangover shad where the bait wobbles side to side, but as that tail wobbles, the bait kind of wobbles with it in the opposite direction. So I think that gives it a more realistic action. So far, I'm thoroughly impressed with this thing. And the faster you reel it in, the better the action it gets. So guys, I think this thing is definitely gonna give me odds to catch a big fish today, and I'm more than excited to just start fishing. The plan fishing wise is to make my way down this bank. There's a little cut back here that there's rocks along the bank here, and that was where I saw probably my PB bass followed in the mag draft. So I'm hoping that same bass is still there and he ends up following this thing in, guys, because if he does and I hook him, I'm gonna be excited. All right, so let's walk a little further along this wall and we will see if we can't make a perfect cast right next to this bluff and potentially find me a fish. This bait is relatively heavy for its size, so it does sink pretty fast. I'm gonna have to be mindful and careful that I don't get a snag and hit the bottom, because it could be pretty shallow through here. It is a little shallower than the last time I fished it. I think the water was like pretty much all the way up to the top of the wall versus now where it's like maybe 5 feet lower. So that's something to watch. Okay, I see a bass down there. He's not very big, but maybe we can get him to follow this bait in a little better. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this color. The top is very, very blue, and then once it hits the water, the side of this bait turns pretty yellow, and it's almost like it's a chartreuse color. So that is slightly concerning. I feel like typically with swim baits, you want a little more natural color. I do have a darker bait, that second bait, the one I showed you guys first. And if I need to, I'll switch to it. Especially with this overcast, guys, you definitely want to try a darker bait than, you know, the baits you're typically using in a very sunny day. Also, the water is a little murky, more murky than what I'm used to at this spot. So that's something to note on like a potential impact on how good or bad the fishing is. Okay guys, I'm getting into that strike zone and it looks like there's a boulder field kind of right below me. And I think those fish are hanging in those spots just like that. So again, let me slow up this bait just a hair. That way it can go a little deeper in the water column. And maybe we can get a big bass to follow it. Okay, guys. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. I'm not moving, but there is a giant fish on it. There is a giant fish literally standing right below me. Okay. At least a 4 or 5 pounder. They chase my bait. Okay, there's easily a 10 pounder. That is easily a 10-pound bass. Oh my gosh. I've never seen a bass this big. What the heck is going on, guys? This spot has them. Oh my gosh. I'm literally shaking. Guys, that bass was that long. And he was a football. This is the spot. This is the spot that might do it for me. Now I just have to be careful. It's weird and crazy how these fish are just loaded. These giant fish are just loaded in the spot right here. This rain is the conditions that a big fish is going to bite too. The other thing that's weird about it is they do just like follow it in. Like they don't like bite it or anything. They just chase it right on its tail. But like they're still here, guys, and I think this overcast is like preventing them from spooking. Oh my gosh. I wonder if I got a jig or something out here, or a Senko, if that big fish would bite it. Probably not. Probably the only reason I'm seeing it is because I'm throwing this swim bait. Okay, we got to think of ways that I can get these bigger fish to bite. What do you guys think? Because I pretty much have figured out where to find the big fish, right, guys? Like, for some reason, this spot right here, this little cut is what holds like multiple 10 pounders just in this little cut. What do you do to get a 10 pounder to bite a swim bait? So you get like 5 fish that follow this swim bait in, right? One is like 10 pounds, 2 of them are like 3 pounds, and the other 2 are like 5 pounds, right? So it's like a weird school that's hanging out through here. And then once you get those fish to follow your bait in, they don't bite it. They just like to look at it for whatever reason. So if we can get something that can bite it, and I mean, you could tell why this spot's so good. It's just a random boulder field through here, and it's a big flat. That thing is money through here. We're like right about where I lost that mag draft, and you could see where those rocks are. And that's where that big fish originally came out of. It's not every cast, but it's like every couple you get a big fish to follow. That's why I love swim bait fishing, guys. Because sometimes seeing a big fish is almost as fun as catching a big fish. And I'd rather see big fish than catch a bunch of small fish, if that makes sense. I know that I can go to X spot and catch 10 small fish, right? But can you go to a spot like this and catch 20 big fish? Or catch 1 big fish? That's the question. And that's why I like fishing Sam Rayburn. So really, these bass are like hanging out in pots, right, guys? Because whenever I see one, I see like 5 or 6. They're not all giants, but really, if you see a pod like that, that's when you should be, taking a couple more casts because this thing will draw in these big fish, and it will draw them from a long distance. So if you're making a cast and you're not really seeing fish follow, I feel like that means you should probably move on from the spot relatively quickly, versus if you see, you know, 5 giant fish follow your bait in, and then that's when you want to stay there. It looks like I might be able to get a couple decent casts back in this cut here. So I'm going to cover this water here and then maybe make my way back with a different color. But there should be enough time on that big fish to where if it did spook, it's probably unspooked now. See if there's a big fish back in here, maybe. I know there's a big laydown somewhere back in here that's definitely submerged right now. It's probably a very snaggy area. Little bass chasing minnows. Little dinky guy. That's awesome. That's hilarious. Strategy might just be to jump. It's not that tall. Ah. Whoa! That is an awesome find. Huh. Let's go, guys. Way back in here. I don't even know how someone would get a bait back in here like this. But let's see, guys. What the heck is this bait? It has no hooks on it, but it's a frog, and it's jointed, and it's got crazy legs, and it probably has a bill, so it moves side to side. That is actually an awesome bait, guys. If I could get hooks on this thing, man, whew, probably end up catching some big fish. All right, guys, we got the different color tied on. I think this is gonna help us get maybe a couple more bites. Reason being is in dark conditions like this, low light conditions, you probably want a darker bait because it gives that bait a little more contrast and those fish can see it just a little better. They could see the silhouette of it versus, you know, a lighter bait. It's kind of harder to see from the bottom. I wonder how shallow it is in this cut here. It's probably relatively shallow. Cast this way. I imagine that this is like a little hump and it drops back down in here because it's still pretty deep off this end, which makes it seem like there's probably a fish back in this end chasing bait. My guess is they're chasing the bait up on top of this hump. Okay, again, I think I'm reeling it in a little too fast. I'm standing on the point. Seems like it tapers off more shallow to my left here. Maybe those fish are in that kind of flat areas. That is where I saw the other ones. The other thing about it is I've been closer to the bank here, so if a fish is following my bait in, I really don't know. Because I don't have like a bird's eye view of it. Kind of like I had, you know, at that other spot. They come up and say hi, don't they? I feel like I got to give it at least 3 hours and just keep grinding. Whoa, sketch, sketch. That wouldn't be good if I fell that way. That was so strange. That was so strange. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was crazy. I didn't feel a bite, but it was just like so subtle and my line was just going that way. So, huh. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I've never caught a fish on a swim bait, so I don't even know what it feels like to get a bite, guys. I need the big fish that somehow survived its whole life being stupid to come out and eat my bait. That's what I need. I need the dumbest big fish in the lake to just be cruising around. I'm gonna catch one. It's only a matter of time. If it takes me months, if it takes me years, just filming swim bait fishing videos, I'm eventually gonna catch one. Seems like the rain's picking up just a hair. Tell you this, guys, this weather, I don't mind it raining one bit. As long as it's not hot, man. Like for Texas in the summer, it's like, I mean, 10 degrees below average temperature right now. So that is really making it enjoyable to stay out here for a very long period of time versus, you know, in the middle of the summer. I mean, it's almost August and we're almost getting crazy, crazy weather. August is going to be hot, but I think since the weather's been so inconsistent this summer, as soon as the fall comes around and it gets windy and cooler, I think that's when the fishing's really going to pick up, and you know, I think it's going to be quite the fall. Here we go. This would be fun to like come out to this spot and go camping. It is very deep right off this thing. Here, giant bass. Come and take it. Come and bite it. Whoa, hold on a second. That, my friend, is a nice swim bait, huh? Look at that spinnerbait, guys. I don't know how high quality it is. I don't think it's that good, but pretty decent find for the Sam Rayburn bank adventure, huh? Found 2 baits, both white. Maybe that means I should switch something. White. Or, hang on a second. Do we make an attempt at abandoning the swim bait for like 5 minutes in an audible to find and use, maybe catch a fish on the bait I just found? Let's do it, guys. All right, guys. We're gonna see if we can't catch a fish on the found bait, and maybe I can get a litter assist, huh? That would be fun. That would be ironic if I lost this thing immediately too. Come on, fishy, fishy, fishy. Okay, okay, here we go. Grass, grass. Grass, shallow grass. Maybe there's a fish in here. Oh my gosh. Guys. This couldn't be a more perfect spot for a bass. There's bait. There's grass. Submerged trees. That's insane. That is literally crazy. That didn't result in a bite right there. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the video. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it done today for whatever reason. Probably the rain. The rain we had this past week, I think the conditions just weren't it. Anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will catch you guys next time.